afternoon everyone. Today we are going to discuss SDLC types, what are the different models are available in SDLC, and so this is useful for your Infosys technical round. So in the previous session we have discussed so far, that is what is SDLC life cycle, software development life cycle. We have seen what are the phases are involved in that one, and the different phases are there, that is requirement and analysis, designing phase and implementation phase or coding phase. After coding phase is finished, that is next testing. After testing phase is finished properly, next we go for deployment. Deployment is finished, next one is maintenance. These are the phases are available in the software development life cycle. If you want to launch any project, these are the phases has to be followed. So some models also there, SDLC models. So based on our requirement and based on our project and based on our technology, we follow the models. So we have primarily we have 5 models. There are a lot of models are available in software development life cycle. So one is waterfall model, second one is iterative model, next third one is evaluationary model, fourth one is prototyping model, next one is spiral model. So how do we define and which model is suits for matches for our projects, means based on our project. Our senior architects will decide which model is suits for our project. Okay, if it is very small project, then we go for waterfall model. If it is a big project, long term project, we go for the spiral model. So based on, I'm not saying that only one particular is for one. So based on our model project requirement only, we choose for the SDLC models. So this waterfall model is one of the standards models. One of them is waterfall model. It is also called as classic waterfall model. Classic waterfall model. Discuss what is waterfall model. Okay, now we are going to discuss the waterfall model. So the waterfall model was the first process model to be introduced. It is also referred as a linear sequential life cycle. It is also referred as linear sequential life cycle model of the software development. Why it is linear means one by one step by one. We once one phase is finished, next we go for the second phase. Okay, next phase, like that we move from one phase to another phase. So why it is renamed as a waterfall means, it is also same thing. Once the water falls from this step, it cannot go back. Okay, so for that reason it is named as waterfall. Okay, in a waterfall model, each phase must be completed before the next phase begin. Okay, in a waterfall model, each phase must be completed before the next phase begin, and there is no overlapping among the phases. Means one phase is completely defined, then only we go for the next phase. Okay, so it is not possible to go for, after completing the testing, I cannot come back to the requirement and analysis. Okay, I cannot come back for the next designing phase. Means once requirement and analysis we completely defined, then only we go for the designing phase. Okay, in the designing phase also, once all the designing phase is defined properly, then only we go for the next coding phase or developing phase or implementation phase, like that. That is the meaning of that one. So we can see the diagrammatic representation also for the waterfall model. So, first requirement and analysis phase is there. Okay. Once it's defined properly, then we go for the next designing phase. So, when if you are getting any problems here, then we can refer to the requirement analysis. Okay. Next, once the system designing phase is properly finished, then it is handed over to the development team. In development team, this is implemented. So, next one is testing, next one is deployment, last one is maintenance phase. Okay. Once the maintenance is finished, okay, I cannot go for the previous models. This is a diagrammatic representation of the waterfall model. I think it is visible for you. So, now we check that requirement analysis and feasibility study. So, feasibility study, as we discussed earlier, it is evaluate alternate systems and to propose the most feasible and desirable system for the designing. Okay. There are the so many feasibility studies are there here. What is in this only gather the information, we gather the requirements, and once I gather the information requirements, so we analyze this one. So, once it is analyzed, then we check for the whether it is feasibility or not. Okay. If it is a feasibility only, then we go for the next phase. Okay. There are so many different feasibilities are there. Okay. That is technical feasibility and economic feasibility, motivational feasibility, and scheduled feasibility and operational feasibility. Feasibility means once it is requirement is analyzed, once requirement is gathered from the client after communicating with the different teams of that organization. Okay. Once requirement is gathered and we make it as a document. Okay. Once the document is finished, then we analyze whether it is possible to make technically or not, whether it is possible to make economically, financially or not. Okay. Whether it is possibility we can schedule within the time or not. Okay. Can we operate this project or not. Okay. All those things we see here. Okay. In technical feasibility, main points are the facility to produce outputs in a given time. In technical feasibility, we see, so the facility to produce outputs in a given time. Okay. Second responsibility in the technical feasibility is response time under certain condition. Okay. Next one is ability to process a certain value of transaction at a particular speed. So, execution speed also, how much time is taking to executing this software, that is also will be calculated in the technical feasibility. Next one is what speed of input and output should be achieved at particular quality of printing. Okay. That is also comes under the technical feasibility. Next, how many workstations are required? How many workstations are required? How these units are interconnected each other. So, how these units are interconnected each other so that they could operate and communicate smoothly. These are all those things comes under the technical feasibility. Okay. Next, second phase is economic feasibility. Second phase is economic feasibility. Okay. It is also very important. In economic analysis is the most frequently used technique for evaluating the effectiveness of a proposed system, proposed software, more commonly known as cost and benefit analysis. Here in economic feasibility, the most common known as cost and benefit analysis. The procedure is to determine the benefits and savings that are expected from a proposed system and compare them with costs and compare them with the cost. If benefits outweigh cost, a decision is taken to design and implement the system. Otherwise, okay, if the economically it is not feasibility, okay, that it may again that reviews can be, we can send back to the reviews client. Economically it is not possible, it is not feasible to develop the economically. Okay. So, economica also plays a very key role in the models, software development life cycles. Okay. Next, operational feasibility. Next we go for the operational, whether we operate this is or not, operational feasibility. Okay. There are so many complexity may become. This is mainly related to a human, organizational and political aspects. The points to be considered, some of the points are there. What changes will be brought with the system? Okay, I am talking about the operational feasibility. So, what changes will be brought with the system? Okay, that is second one is what organizational structure are distributed? What organizational structure are distributed? What new skills can be implemented? What are the new skills may become in the future enhancements projects? All those things can be considered in the operational feasibility. All those things will be considered in operational feasibility. So, this feasibility studies is carried out by a small group of people who are familiar with the information system. Okay. These are the main feasibilities are in the waterfall model. Next model is okay. Once all those things feasibility study is finished, we prepare the document. We prepare the formal document. That document is called as SRS document. Okay. Requirement, software requirement and specification document. It is SRS is it is distributed to the all the development team, all those things. So, everything is kept in this document. What is the functional requirement? What are the non-functional requirement? What are the manpower is required? What are the technical team is required? And what are the time duration is required for this project? How much budget is allocated? What are the system configuration is required? All those things is kept in a SRS document. Okay. Once this SRS document is prepared, next phase is designing phase. Next phase is designing phase. So, in this designing document, in this designing document, the step we translate all those things whatever we discussed in the analysis, requirement, software requirement analysis, and if we prepare the database design also. Okay. In requirement analysis only, even we see the database requirements also will be discussed. Okay. So, who will the users be and what groups can be divided in the database requirement? Okay, I will write here. Database requirements. Okay, I will make it as a full screen. First one is who will be the user? User B. What groups can they be divided in how strict do you want to enforce access to various parts of the application. Okay. Second one is what you want to store exactly. Store what are the forms are required and next one is third one, when do you need the application to be available in case of emergency. We also see in case of emergency, what time window do we have to get things back up. Where will you need to access to the application, that is internal or external. Next, fifth one, what is the goal of this rebuilt project? That is, what is the reason they want to move from access to some other, if they want to move from one technology to another technology. Okay. What are the limitations? Next one is sixth one. What are the limitations there are to the environment in which you will deploy the application? Okay, these are the database requirements also there, which we are not discussed in the requirement analysis. Okay. So, all those things are discussed, defined, then we go for the next designing. So, in requirement also UI designing, UI requirements also will be taken, considered. What are the front end tools are going to be discussed, all those things also, what are the UIs are there also will be discussed. Next, in this step we translate the requirements into the software architecture, means on plan requirements is designed into the architecture. Okay, all those things in a diagrammatic forms only. This designing phase is converted into the diagrammatic representation. Okay, and we prepare the database design and so on. All those things, this software design is represented in the form of the diagrammatic form. So, this is a designing phase is a very important for all the projects. all the scratch level projects, designing phase are very important. If the designing is good designing, so it is very easy to implement. It is very easy to implement. Everything is designed in the designing phase only. What are the interfaces are required, what are the relationship are there from one module to another module, what are the data is carried. Also, so all those things will be designed in this phase only. So now you can see that a designing phase structure in this diagrammatic. First they design one informal design outline. First informal design outline will be performed. So once informal design is performed, next it is approved, then it goes to the finished designing. Finished designing. If there is any changes are there, again it comes to the next informal designing. Okay. After doing that another designing, again it goes to the finished designing. Okay. If there is any changes are required, okay, for any meetings, again some more formal designings will be, this is the final designing. Okay. Once it is formal designing is finished, okay, next it is called as finished design. Finished design. So in this finished design, there the total detailed design also exists in the finished design. The design itself is divided into two stages. The design itself is divided into the two stages as we discussed in the previous session also, that is high level designing and low level designing. High level and low level designing. So in this it is also called as HLD, and second one is low level designing. Okay. In the high level designing means it covers a complete architecture of the project or product. So from the main module to all its sub modules, it gives the overall designing. It gives the overall designing. Okay. For if you want to construct any house also, first we before submitting, when we are submitting in the municipal corporation office, we submit only the high level designing, means how many floors which we are going to construct, okay, either G+2 or G+3 or G+4. Okay. Only skeleton will be designed in first floor, ground floor, how much parking space is setback is left, how much square feet you are constructing, all those things will be there in the HLD, that is high level designing. Okay. Once we approve from the municipal corporation, then only we go for the low level designing. There are two types, high level and low level. In the low level, detailed designing will be there. Okay. Where how many windows are there, where the doors are, entrance is there. Okay. How much wood is we are using, which wood we are using, what are the steels, how many steels are required for this one. Okay. Where is the bathroom is constructed. Okay. All those things will be designed in a diagrammatic form in detailed designing or low level designing. So this is high level design is a overall system design covering the system architecture and database design in HLD. Next, it describes the relation between the various modules and functions of the system. It describes the relation between various modules and functions of the system in HLD. Okay. It describes what are the relation between the different modules, okay, and functions of the system, that is in HLD, and what is the data flow and what are the flow charts are there and what are the data structures are there under HLD, high level designing document, which contains the data flows and flow charts and data structures in this HLD designing. Once HLD is finished, once it is approved, HLD, high level designing is approved, next we go for that HLD designing is converted into the low level designing. It is also separate designing, that is detailed designing. Okay. In low level designing, which contains the thumb rules while designing the software. What are the rules are there means it should, I will write here. In low level designing is very important. In low level designing, it should be simple. It should be simple. Simple means a designing, it should allow the keep moving forward with least amount of resistance. Okay, should be easy to understand with full clarity. Should be easy to understand with full clarity. Okay, steps to be followed, which contains rules. These are the rules for the LLD. It should be simple. Simple means it should understand with full clarity. Second one is efficient. It should be efficient. It should be efficient. Okay. Designing should be efficient to handle the multiple requests. It should be efficient to handle the multiple requests. Multiple requests and serve the response. And serve the response to the end users. Okay. It should be efficient means it should handle the multiple requests and serve the response to end users. Next, third one is it should be reliable. It should be reliable too. Okay. So, for this system should perform its required functions. It should perform its required functions under stated conditions. Under stated conditions. Okay. For example, if you are developing any banking application also, so directly because we are which should contain lakhs of money. Okay. So many users will store their confidential information in that one. So if there any single mistake is also there, so much of money is going to be wasted for innocent people. So while we are designing itself, we have to maintain the reliability. Then only people will access to our software. Okay, that's what we are. This is the third rule for designing. While we are designing any software in a low level, we have to follow these rules. Next, fourth one is it should be flexible. It should be flexible. Okay. Whenever we are developed any software, it should be flexible, user friendly. It should be user friendly. It should be user friendly. Our software should be user friendly. While we are designing itself, we need to think that it should be user friendly. Okay, in before 3 years, 4 years back or 10 years back, our government and nationalized banking applications, means net bankings are very difficult because they are not at all user friendly. We need to enter so many things. Okay, so every time it's very difficult to do the net banking, but whereas private banks like ICICI banks, they designed their application, it is very user friendly. So after coming this private banks, now the government nationalized banks also, they are designed the user flexible their apps and applications. Okay, next so flexible, reliability, efficiency and simple, and next one is fifth one, you can see here this secured. It should be security also should be maintained. It should be in a position to protect protect the system from any virus, malware. Okay, so it should be very secured also should be maintained. Okay, while we are developing any application. So secured is very key, and most of the applications are concentrating on the security. While in designing itself, we have to follow these things. Okay, secured. Recently we have seen one SBI bank quick access tool has developed, SBI bank. It is very I felt very happy because nationalized bank, government nationalized bank, they have developed the one secured application app. We need to download this app. Right now it is only available for the SBI users. Okay, you can see because so many right now we are moving into the digitalized banking, means cashless transfer. So secured plays very key role. Still so many people are not using the net banking, they are not at all, because they are unaware of that, they are feeling afraid of, they are scared about their money, because if you are giving our details to the online banking, so many net people or net center people also may be cracked our, they may our data may be theft, like that they are thinking. So secured also very key role, it is also playing very key role in the application. If our application is secured designing, then our application is going to success in the market. So it should be in a position to protect the system, our data from the malwares and hackers, not only malwares, hackers also. So this is these are the next security is also one of the important role for designing low level. Next one is sixth one robust. Okay, so robust means so while we are when we are opening or while we are performing any operations in our software, it should not crash, or it should not be hanged. So we have to maintain the robustness also for our software. So robust means while we are running or executing our application, it should not be crashed during the execution time. It should not be hanged during the execution time, during the run time. Okay, robustness also we have to follow the rules. Next one is maintainable. In the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 robust, after robust, maintainable. Okay, So, our application should be easy to maintain. Okay, maintain means it should not take much time while we are installing. Okay, it should be very easy to maintain. Okay, next one is 8th one, coding. So, here coding only to speak, it only speaks to the computer. You can tell the computer software, you can tell the computer what to do. So, by using the coding only possible. In designing itself, we design and which coding has to be performed in this designing phase. These are the very important rules are there in while we are designing the low level designing. So, now you can see first one is simple, second one is efficient, third one is reliable, fourth one is flexible, fifth one is secured, robustness, maintainable and coding. Okay. These are the rules has to be followed in a low level designing. In low level designing, these are the rules we follow. So, it defines the actual logic. Okay. It defines the actual logic for each and every component of the system in designing low level designing. Okay. For just now we have seen some rules has to be maintained, all those things 7 rules we have seen, those based on that we need to consider that those 7 rules while we are drawing the low level designing, means low level designing document. Okay. It defines actual every logic for each and every component of our software. Generally this low level designing is performed by the senior architects. Senior architect, he won't directly involved in the coding, but he should be knowledge in the coding part. It should be knowledge in the coding part. So, after completing of this designing document, we need to prepare one document. Designing phase, we need to prepare one document. The document name is software design description document. You need to here point to be understood one thing, that for every phase we need to prepare one document. Documentation is very important for every phase. In requirement analysis also we prepare one document. Okay, that is SRS document. Okay, after SRS document we prepare next phase is designing phase. After performing all the designing phase, next we prepare one document. The document name is software design description document. So, SDD document. So, once it is finished, next phase I think you know that is coding phase or implementation phase, okay, or develop phase. There are, you can see, you can tell any one of terminology, that is coding phase or develop phase or develop phase. So, here coding phase is whatever we have designed in the designing phase, that is converted, translated into the code. The source is one of the important deliverable and which is an executable plan. Here coding phase only a executable plan, and remaining before that one is only on the paperwork. Okay, it is only on the paperwork, it is not at all executable. The coding phase itself comes into a executable part. Next, in the coding phase of software, designing involves translation of designing specification into a system understandable form, that is program. Okay, the coding phase of software, okay, means it translates the designing into coding part, means machine system understandable form. This system understandable form is also called as program. It is also called as program. If design is performed in a detailed manner, code generation becomes easily. Okay, code generation becomes very simple, because what are the classes are required, what are the interfaces are required, all those things, what are the relationship between the each module, all those things will be described in the designing part only. It is described in the designing part only. All even variable names also, function names means method names also described in designing document. Okay, in the coding phase simply they write the logic, that's it. Okay, if you take one example, that is tailoring. Okay, here the main tailor, he only cuts that our cloth. Okay, once the cutting is finished properly, designing coding means even junior also can stitch that cloth, means only in the cutting only that logic will be there. In tailoring, I am talking about those who are aware of the tailoring. If you see any tailoring showrooms are there, only that logic is only in the cutting that cloths. After cutting is properly is done, okay, means stitching becomes very simple. Here also the design is performed very in a detailed manner, code generation becomes very simple. Means this code generation means developer, means starting level or senior programmers will write the logics. It becomes very simple, because 99% of the names, what are the interfaces names, what are the APIs, what are the package names, all those things will be described briefly in the designing document only. So coding becomes is simple if the designing document is properly formed. I hope you understood this coding phase. This phase is also known as the implementation phase. Okay, here each component of the design is implemented as a program module. Here each component of the design is module. So once this coding is done, once the coding is done properly, okay, so again we prepare one document. The document name is software implemented code document. Okay, for every phase one document is mandatory. This is done by the team leader or developers will prepare this document. That is, this document name is implemented code document. So once coding is finished successfully, next phase is testing. So I forgot to tell one thing, that is, while we are writing the code itself, we perform the unit testing. As the developer part is unit testing also. While we are writing the program, okay, that programmer itself should perform the unit testing, whether our program is executing properly or not. Okay, if there are any logical mistakes is there or not, if we do, okay, it is totally that unit testing is performed correct, then only we hand over our code to our next higher person, that is team leader or project leader. Okay, now the project leader, he handovers our coding implementation part to the testing team. The testing responsible is, they have to check how much time it is taking, what are the bugs are there. Okay. They will give the different parameters, different input values, okay, whether it is performing properly or not. Okay, if it is anything bugs are there, again they sends to the particular team leader, again that particular a team leader will assign that to the particular developer. Based on that bug's severity, it will be done. If the severity is high, their colors will be mentioned in the bug tools will be maintained. So, each of these program modules is unit tested. Once the unit tested is performed, it is handed over to the testing team. Okay. So, here unit testing is to determine the correct working of each and every unit of the individual modules. So, in this all the individual pieces of software are tested and then whole software will put together. So, once the testing is done, so tested the software code. Next, once it is done, this totally is done, next phase is deployment. So, we deploy our software into the client machine. Okay. So, once we deployed successfully on the client machine, next phase is maintenance phase. On the maintenance phase, we have to make the necessary changes. In the maintenance phase. If the software is not meeting the performance requirements, if the changes means if the software our product is not meeting the customer requirements, okay, so we need to be able to do the changes. We may have to review the software, and may have to go back to designing whether the design have modified or is there any something else to be done in order to improve the performance. So, this is the ongoing step. Which we generally call the maintenance phase, and either the software enhanced or perfected or to be ported new hardware. Ported means installing new hardware. This is ongoing step which needs to done through the life of the software. So, what are the advantages are there for the waterfall model is it is very simple and easy to use. Second one is easy to manageable. Next advantage is, so it is model are processed and completed one at a time. Okay. Next, it works very well for smaller software projects. Okay. So, because why it works very well means every phase is detailedly we work completely defined. After completely defining only we go for the next phase. Okay. After completely defining only we go for the further phase. Okay. I cannot come back because based on this one we performed perfectly, we define the each and one phase, because in the waterfalls one step to another step, that water cannot go back. In the same waterfall model also will be the same thing. Some disadvantages are there in the waterfall model, that is it is often difficult for the customers to state all the requirement explicitly, because I cannot modify the requirements. Once it is requirement is gathered and if we go for the next phase, it is difficult to modify. Customer wants to another modifications. That is a disadvantage of the waterfall model. Next disadvantage is we rarely follow the sequential flow that software model proposes. Next one is the customer must have patience, because if the very single time is a short period of time, if any customer wants to develop the software means I cannot go back, we cannot choose the waterfall model. As this product is delivered very late, it takes much time to deliver, because each and every phase is defined properly. So, it takes time taking process, I cannot give it immediately. So, if client wants his product into the market in a particular within the time, so we cannot choose the waterfall model because it takes much time. And next disadvantage is, for if it is a very long long duration project is there, I cannot go for the waterfall model. It is not suits for the long duration projects. So, some other models also there. Iterative model, a prototype model, okay, that will be discussed later. As a part of our Infosys technical round, a waterfall model is enough for you. If the time permits, I will tell you the next models also. In next session, we go for the another technical round. Thank you. If you have any doubts, you can post your doubts to my mail ID also. I have already given to you. Once again, I give it to you, rajendra.apssdc@gmail.com. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can post your doubts. Write your doubts to following mail ID. Okay, thank you all. I hope you understood the waterfall model very well. It's very simple. No need to, if you have the knowledge on the SDLC model previous session, so it is very simple. SDLC model, it follows all the phases perfectly. That is waterfall model. Waterfall model is also called as classic SDLC model, and another name is also there, that is sequential software development life cycle model. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you.